One of the things that I genuinely adore about Honkai Star Rail is how they have this system of paths and elements that you can mishmash and do like several different things with characters. It is personally a lot of fun and it's enjoyable, right? Like it's amazing seeing all these character designs, but can anybody please tell me why is physical so fucking useless? I do want to clarify that I mean no disrespect when I say that. And to be fair, while they may not necessarily be useless, they feel useless. And I want to attribute this not to the fact that the characters are at fault, but rather that the enemies themselves are at fault. Because when you look at the meta, when you look at the characters and everything, there genuinely isn't any character that has a physical weakness that is like important, right? And this denial of physical weaknesses on enemies has just been causing issues. Because if we look at enemies that have come up, like as of recently, we have the IPC squad leader that I have a few extra words I'm gonna say a little bit later. We have the Ebon Deer, we have the Swarm Disaster bugs, and overall it's just been, Yanqing, and yeah, overall it's just been absolutely horrible, right? And again, I do feel like, for example, Clara and Locha work incredibly well. I know that Locha's imaginary, but like he just combos so well with Clara that I feel like if you have Clara, you could run Locha solely for that extra layer of healing and security. That works incredibly well. However, Clara suffers in the fact that, you know, most of her damage comes from counter attacks, and you have to apply the Markov counter in order to do more damage when you're parrying attacks, well, countering attacks back to enemies. Another character that used to see a bit more play but has fallen down would also be Sushang, which has the funniest mechanic in the world because it's useless in this current meta. Why? Because enemies don't have physical weakness. Sushang needs to have an enemy who has been weakness broken in order to deal extra chips of damage. Her skill deals an additional tick of damage when an enemy has no shield, and if if you use your ultimate with Sushang, she does 3 procs of those that can do massive amounts of damage. Like if the skill itself does like 200%, that extra proc with the ultimate and everything does like an extra 300%, which is absolutely insane in my opinion. But if there's no enemies that have physical weaknesses, she essentially is kind of useless. Because she cannot proc those special passives consistent. She can still proc them if the enemy has a shield, but it's not as consistent because otherwise it's 100% when the enemy doesn't have a shield. And that just ends up making it so that the 2 main DPS characters from Physical have been lackluster and just have been falling off a lot. Which brings me to my next character. The one that I absolutely adore, the one that I remember I claimed he was going to be absolutely busted on release because I had so much hope for him. Luca. Luca is a character I genuinely adore and I want him to work well, like genuinely speaking. But the issue is there's just no real support for him. Like, you can run him on DOTs, but at that point it's not Luca who's shining. It's Kafka, and you don't really use him for his debuffing abilities, but more so for the, apply bleed kind of mechanic. But Luca has like some interesting things in his kit. Like one of his ascensions legitimately allows him to dispel a buff on an enemy, similarly to how Pela does. So if an enemy had a physical weakness, you can bring him instead of Pela, remove those debuffs, and true, you may not be getting that defense shred that Pela does provide, but like you still get a nice DOT, which is still pretty freaking good in my opinion. And if the enemy was weak to physical, then you would absolutely just wreck them because the ultimate does so much damage, and basic attacks do so much damage for the shield. It's really good. But again, there's no enemies that have those shields, which just makes it even worse. Even Natasha, which to be fair, she got giga power crap. It's just also kind of useless with the fact that she's physical, because one of the things that you kind of do is you're not always healing, right? So more often than not, you just find yourself using basic attacks on your healers. But if those basic attacks are not even breaking a shield or doing anything to a shield, it just feels sad, right? Because it's like, oh, you just did like a little of damage, and that's the only healer that exempts themselves from this is Locha, because Locha builds damage, he builds attack for his healing. But every other character that builds HP, they're just a sponge there, just existing and not doing anything, which makes it all feel really rough. Natasha has the benefit of, providing bleed, which I can understand why she's underwhelming her healing kit, but like, it doesn't matter if an enemy doesn't have weight for you to proc a physical weakness. And well, that's like all the characters that are physical that have seen meta. There's one more, which is, in my opinion, the Blue Eyes White Dragon of Star Rail, the Trailblazer. It's a stat stick, because he provides nothing else other than being a stat stick. It's really nice for him to break shields, and I can kind of understand the way to just, do damage over time, I guess, kind of, but he's part of destruction, meaning he should be a damage dealer, like naturally born, but he really isn't, so there's just a little bit of a problem there. Nonetheless, I do feel like, he has the ability to do nice amounts of damage, and if you find physically weak enemies, then you might as well try. It's not the end of the world, and certainly can be very reliable with the little cone shield breaks if there's multiple enemies. But at the end of the day, again, it's just a stat stick, and it just feels really, really rough. However, and this is the part that I kind of got stuck there, because I was like, wait a minute, what was I going to talk about? Of course, the new characters coming into Star Rail, both Hanya and Argenti, are going to be physical characters that I genuinely hope we'll see meta play. Hanya being Harmony will 100% see meta play, because Harmony's busted. And in my opinion, just the two most broken paths have to be Harmony and Nihility. I'm gonna stand by that decision forever. However, Argenti being Erudition, which is a path that is known for being a bit underwhelming as of recently, I'm scared, right? Because a lot of the mechanics of Argenti are, oh hey, if there's not that many enemies, I will get less rewards. And it just feels like it's gonna be awkward, because his highest damage output implies that there are most enemies. One of the things that he does, I'm pretty sure, was that if he like, I don't remember exactly, but I just remember the more enemies, the more energy regenerated. And if, I don't know, I think that if you're able to like break a shield, maybe you regenerate even more, which, again, more power to ya, but it just sucks because there's not really that many enemies weak physical. And the one enemy that summons physically weak allies doesn't have a physical weakness himself. Of course, I'm talking about the IPC Giga Robot that annoys my life. The IPC Squad Leader. That enemy has a fire, a ice, and an imaginary weakness. And while I can understand, yeah, fire for Topaz and Numbi, ice for Jingliu, because Jingliu is the designated slayer for that character. The little minions also have fire and ice, but they have physical, while this guy has imaginary, which is like, excuse me, what the, like what the heck? It just bothers me massively, because if this guy had a physical weakness, Argenti would have popped off. Argenti would be perhaps one of the most amazing characters to just run and shred that individual over and over again. And I'm trying to contain myself from swearing too much, because it genuinely bothers me so much. It's the fact that this monster doesn't have a physical weakness, and Argenti's getting giga-cucked even further. Why? Because he's running with Silverwolf, which, it's the one character that every fucking body adores. And while I have my giga bias on the character, because genuinely she was like the character that I started playing Star Rail for, I feel like they're doing dirty to Argenti, like massively. He deserves to thrive, and I genuinely believe Argenti gamers deserve to have their moment in the fucking spotlight. So what I'm hoping for is that if there's any new enemies coming in the next patch, that they have a nice amount of physical weaknesses, or you know, do they spawn more physical weakness enemies? Because that would be fucking amazing for Argenti, and it would give you more reasons to build physical. And even then, right? Kind of to go a little bit of backtracking on the concept of physical. Physical used to be really good. Like one of the teams that genuinely popped off was mono physical with silverwolf, because you know you had to implant a physical weakness. And I remember people used it against the Ebondeer. I used it against the Ebondeer, and it was fucking amazing. It literally shredded that individual so fucking badly. But when an enemy doesn't have a quantum weakness and you cannot guarantee that physical debuff, well, the physical weakness debuff implant, then it just feels rough. And I feel like that just genuinely shows that physical can be an amazing freaking element, but there's just no enemies that support that kind of game style. Mono physical could easily pop off and shred the world, but like, we just don't have that kind of support currently because the enemies are, you know, not weak, and Silverwolf is quantum, so there's a 50-50 chance of getting a bad roll if the enemy doesn't have a physical weakness. At the end of the day though, I'm just really hoping that the game will be great for everybody. I want I just want all the characters to be useful to a certain extent. And while I know that Simulator Universe can achieve that, I just want for the meta, for Memory of Chaos, I want people to be able to have a lot of fun. And being a turn-based game, you can make so many strategies, which I fucking adore. And you can make almost anybody as a hyper carry. That just brings me happiness. So I'm really hoping for you all to go absolutely hard on the characters you want. And again, at the end of the day, this game is for fun. So I hope that this doesn't discourage you from going for Argenti. At the end of the day, these are also just like my fucking opinions and talks. So like don't be discouraged by my speech. And yeah, at the end of it all, I hope that you'll had a wonderful day. If it's possible, you know, drop a sub. I would really appreciate it. It helps grow the channel, and it helps me sending more videos to you that might stir some conversation. I like to be able to discuss and talk about like what you guys think, or if my ideas are bullshit, because sometimes they very much will be. A little bit of a question for you all as well is, do you guys think that the Swarm Disaster bugs, right, like they implanted to them the ice weakness because Jingliu was popular, right? On the second half of Memory of Chaos, do you guys think they might change that so the little beetles have physical weakness for the next rotation of Memory of Chaos whenever that happens? Because I think that would be like a nice way to incentivize people to go for Argenti. It would be scummy, but like it would be an effective way to go for it, especially because the enraged beetle is part of that. You know, it has a physical weakness. But anyway, that's just been everything from me. I want to appreciate once again for the fact that, hey, if you have not subscribed yet, I want to specify that 1.5 or 1.6 low image row Pearson of viewers have subscribed to this channel. The other 90-something% haven't, but you know what, I'm just proud that the number's above 1%, and that brings me joy. With that being said and done though, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you on the next one, and bye bye.